you want to listen.
Are you not entertained? Is that why you are here?
Zip, don't get scared.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animals, and welcome back to a brand new Flick Pick live show. How are you guys doing? Special holiday edition, because I am in fact wearing my Macaulay Culkin sweater, which just makes me feel better about who I am and what I'm doing in life. But nevertheless, happy holidays to all of you, and thank you for joining me once again. And we have a lot to talk about on this episode of the live show. A lot to talk about. We're going to talk about the Superman trailer and some copyright issues, and I'm very angry at Warner Brothers. Very upset with them, but we'll dive into that. We're also going to talk about the new Netflix movie, Carry On, and it feels like the Netflix movie of the week, but I have some things to say about it, and some positives, like one or two of them. And then I also want to talk about the brand new Disney movie that cost $300 million, but I don't think it's going to make that back anytime soon, and that is Mufasa. We will be talking about all of those things in this live show, so grab some popcorn, something delicious to drink, some eggnog since it is the holiday season, and sit back and enjoy. And then as soon as we get through all of those glorious, magical, mystical topics, we will dive into your questions. So feel free to ask anything and everything you want to right now. And if you have something to say about one of these topics, feel free to chime in right now as well. So let's just open it up with the first topic, and that's going to be the brand new Superman trailer from James Gunn. Now, this trailer is breaking records. I think within the first 24 hours, this trailer got 250 million views. That's a lot of views. And that's awesome. Hey, the comic book genre is coming back. Maybe it'll be the Renaissance era, right? We were sort of on a downward trend. We were sort of in the slope of going into a void of just mediocre corporate mumbo-jumbo digital noise. And now maybe we're coming out of that, and I have hope again. Now, the most divisive thing on the internet right now is the Superman trailer, which to me, I think that's comical. It's like when you go on the internet, there are people having fights and giving each other death threats over the Superman trailer. It's baffling to me, but nevertheless, when it comes to that trailer, I put out two videos. I did a trailer breakdown video, and then I did a quick lazy trailer reaction video because people like those trailer reactions. And depending on the trailer, if it's going to be polarizing or captivating, I'll make a trailer reaction. It's not usually my go-to, it's not really my style, but every once in a while. And the reason it's not my style is I don't overreact when I watch things. I think it's slightly disingenuous, and I don't like it. Like, I will probably never cry watching a trailer on the internet with a camera in my face. Call me crazy. I have too much self-respect. I can't do it. Or maybe it's my fragile male masculinity. Either one. I just can't do it. I wish I could. It would get more views. I just can't quite get there. Now, if I turn off the camera and think about my own life, then I'll probably cry, but I typically don't record that. But when it comes to this trailer, I talked all about it. I enjoyed it. It was surprising in a lot of aspects, but pleasantly surprising for the most part. And if you were judging that quick social media teaser for the teaser that they put out the night before the teaser trailer, which I feel like did nothing, it was such a disservice for the actual trailer. I don't even know why they put that crappy teaser trailer out. Some of those crowd reaction shots look like they were shot with an iPhone and color graded by some kid who just took some kind of Instagram filter from 2012 that makes pictures way too vibrant and slapped it on there and said, that looks comic booky, put it out there. I thought it looked terrible, but I'm happy to say the actual trailer looked pretty good. I don't think it's perfect. I think some of the bluey teal color grading, especially on that close-up shot of Superman's face, you could just see the blue. And, maybe warm that up and tweak it a little bit. But the movie comes out in another year, so we have time, or 6 months, close enough. Also, my favorite aspect of the trailer was actually Crypto, Superman's dog. And I think that is a nice touch. Now, that comes straight from the comic books. And I think they're going to interject it in this movie in a way that it feels right. It feels appropriate. And when Superman's laying there dead in the snow, Crypto, home! And then he just drags him by the cape through the snow. I liked that. And the brilliant thing here, by including Crypto the dog, everyone likes a dog. If you don't like a dog, you're a monster, okay? And we have nothing in common, okay? Just unsubscribe now if you don't like dogs, okay? We will never connect on a personal level. But if you do, stick around because I have a lot to say about Crypto the dog. I think by adding that into this story, it just humanizes Superman that much more and makes him, it adds humanity. And they've added humanity with the Superman character throughout every incarnation of every film, to a certain degree. But I think in this one, they're really going for it. And a lot of complaints on the internet really stem from, and it's like a famous meme right now on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, where everyone says, talk about a bigger downgrade. And then they show Henry Cavill Superman looking all jacked, wearing his blue condom Superman suit with a cape on it. And don't get me wrong, I love me some Henry Cavill and I love me some Man of Steel. I will fight and die on that hill until the day I guess I die on that hill talking about a Zack Snyder Superman movie from 2013, which I saw in the theaters 5 times, and I don't have any regrets. I thought that was the perfect Superman movie for me at the time, and I enjoyed it. Now, did they sort of destroy what they had going with that, with future installments in the DCU, EU, whatever you want to call it? The failed attempt at bringing all these comic book characters together? Yes, they absolutely did. But I thought Henry Cavill in that tight blue suit, it made me question things, okay? But I think this new variation of Superman in his new suit, where some people say it's not form-fitting enough, it's a little loose, I like those things. I like that he's not some super overly jacked dude with a tight latex suit on. I like that the suit has a little more flow to it, and he comes across more like a dude, but who happens to be this alien who crash landed on Earth, who possesses these powers. But the dilemma here is he needs to utilize these for the betterment of humanity. And, talk about an obligation. I couldn't imagine if you gave me the powers of Superman today, I question what I would actually do with all of those. Would I work part-time as Superman? Maybe 2 days a week I go save small children? I don't know. Or would I just sleep in and not do anything with it? But that's a very interesting question. But I think the tone of this new Superman movie, the vibe of it, I like it. Overall, I do like it. I'm looking forward to it. And I think it's something different. And when it comes to his suit, to sum up my thoughts, I don't hate it. I sort of like that it's a little bit different and not perfect. And it looks like a suit that you would actually put on to go to work. It's not tight and latexy. It looks like he could actually save the day in this suit. Call me crazy. But the one last thing I want to say about the Superman suit is the red underwear. My favorite thing about this, and the best justification I've ever heard for the red underwear of Superman, comes from Superman himself, David Cornsweet, who said, Superman should be approachable. He shouldn't be this scary, godlike alien. He should be like a guy kids want to go up to. And that is the justification for wearing the red underwear. It's sort of like a pro wrestler. It's like a friendly big dude that you want to go give a high five and he's covered in baby oil. And as a dude who likes pro wrestling, maybe a little bit too much, that really hit home with me. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. But then again, with all that said, if I put red underwear on the outside of my pants and hung around playgrounds, I don't think children would approach me, nor do I think people would want their children to approach me, and I think they would question what I'm doing there. But with Superman, I guess it just makes sense, so we're going to overlook it for now. But the other thing I wanted to say about the Superman trailer, breaking all of these records, and people are seeing it, and there was so much curiosity behind this trailer, and I think that's the majority of the views. It's, what is this new tone? What is James Gunn going to do going forward with the DCU? And I have hope. I really do. And I think that's where the majority of these record-breaking views come from. And that's why it's the highest viewed Warner Brothers DC trailer of all time. And I would like to say this, though. I think if social media was where it's at right now back in 2007, 2008, when the Dark Knight trailer came out, I'm fairly certain that trailer would also have exponentially more views than it does. Because right now on social media, everyone jumps on the newest trend, the newest bandwagon, and everyone talks about it, and they almost talk about it too much, to the point where I'm almost tired of seeing and hearing about the Superman trailer. At this point, just give me the movie, okay? I'm tired of hearing people's opinions, but then again, I come across like a hypocrite because I'm giving you my opinion. But please, just hear me out for one more second because I have a point to make. My point is, I put out 2 videos covering the Superman trailer, and both were clearly within the realm of the YouTube policy and the free use legal doctrine, where I can utilize a trailer that I don't own as long as I give it a critical analysis and some commentary, and it's for educational purposes, which fit fair use law. And then I was hit with not one, but two copyright claims on both of those videos, one for the video from Warner Brothers and one for the music from some company called Genesis, who are just money-hungry bastards, and I hope they burn in hell for all of their sins against humanity. And if they're listening right now, I hope you're in a lot of agonizing pain. But the other thing I want to say about this is, when you get a copyright claim on YouTube, you can dispute that claim, and what I do is I actually use the legality behind the law, and I copy and paste this huge article about fair use laws and what they entail, and then I put some actual proven court cases in there where fair use law held up in that specific incident. And then right now, though, because studios want every penny they can get from that trailer, they don't care about content creators creating conversation around the trailer and actually propelling the movie and getting more people to talk about it and embracing the trailer and giving them free publicity. No. They don't care about any of that. They just want a few shekels from everybody because it's corporate greed. They're soulless, okay? So I disputed both of those claims, and then they hit me again. They denied the claims, and then hit me again and upheld the copyright claim. And then at that point on YouTube, if you're not familiar with it, you have the option to appeal that. And if you appeal that, they put a big warning on the screen to try to scare you off to where, okay, if you appeal this and lose, we're going to give you a copyright strike. And as just some dude who makes YouTube videos, right? I'm not some big powerful corporation. I'm just a dude in red underwear talking about movies with a Macaulay Culkin sweater on, okay? And don't forget the Batman hoodie, nevertheless, or beanie. So I'm happy to announce I did appeal both of those decisions, and now I do have ad revenue on both of those videos once again. But at the end of the day, with their stupid copyright claims, they're going to get like $10 from me nevertheless. So I don't know why they even waste the time doing that. And by the way, nothing fits more into fair use than putting reaction or review in your title. It's clearly that. Like, I'm not re-uploading the trailer to steal it from you. So anyway, those are my quick thoughts on the Superman trailer. What did you guys think about it? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you love it? I'm looking forward to it. It threw a lot at you in that trailer, but nevertheless, I'm sort of excited to see it. And it's been a while since we've had a Superman movie. You know, it's going on like 10 years now. So, hey, I'm looking forward to it. Okay, and the next main topic I wanted to talk about here, and don't worry, I will dive into all of your questions. I see all these glorious questions popping up, and I'm getting excited. I'll tell you that right now. But the next main topic I want to talk about is a little movie I watched on Netflix the other day. I had a little downtime. Okay, we got some pizza, and I was like, I need something to watch, something that doesn't make me think too much. Just give me some content. And by content, I meant the newest Netflix movie of the week. Because those aren't films, those are content, okay? Disposable content. You watch them once, you will never go back and watch them again. They're not polarizing, they will not resonate. And basically, the best way I can describe a Netflix movie is, and it's okay if you like some of these movies, they're guilty pleasure movies, or they're mildly entertaining to you. That's okay, we can still be friends. But the best way I can describe Netflix movies is they come across like a soulless movie that borrows ideas and concepts from other movies that came out in the past, but all of those movies are much better, far superior. They have better writing, better acting, more charisma. And then Netflix comes along and takes little slivers of those ideas and bastardize them and put them into another movie. And then the way that they make their movies, they make them so digital and flat looking. The way that they shoot Netflix movies and the reason they look so flat and digital is it's the lighting. When they shoot a Netflix movie, they're overlit and they're very dull. And it almost feels like to me during the production process of making these films that they don't really take their time and add depth to the scenes or light the actors in an interesting way that looks cinematic. It just feels like they use one big spotlight and say, you know what, we'll fix it in post-production, add some gray color or some gray color timing to it and desaturate it, and we'll just say that looks cinematic. Go. But as far as the movie Carry On goes, it definitely felt like it was inspired from Die Hard 2, which predominantly takes place in an airport with John McClane, and that movie suffers a bit from sequelitis, but nevertheless, it's a good time. It's a guilty pleasure, and that sequence where John McClane shoots up through the ejector seat with a huge explosion underneath him still makes me laugh with joy to this day. But when it comes to Carry On, in all fairness, I felt like the first act had potential. It had some potential, and I thought, had they just stuck with him being a TSA agent and being stuck at the X-ray machine where all the luggage goes through, had they just taken their time at that sequence a little bit longer, it sort of would have been like Phone Booth, but in an airport, where he's talking to Jason Bateman, aka the terrorist antagonist of the movie, which, by the way, I love me some Jason Bateman. He plays the perfect asshole, and if I was going to be a terrorist with chemical gas, I was going to take on an airplane in the most convoluted storyline of all time, where I'm setting myself up to fail and just putting my face on every camera in an airport for 5 hours as I just threaten some guy on a phone. Where was I going with that? His plan was terrible. There was no way he was going to come out with, there's no way that plan was going to end successfully. Absolutely no way. But nevertheless, I love Jason Bateman, and some of his, the way he criticizes people and just reads people instantly, I enjoy that. I kind of relate to it, just putting it out there. So FYI, if I was ever going to put chemicals on a plane and become a terrorist, I would do it in the style of Jason Bateman and Carry On. And Taron Egerton, I like him as an actor. I really do. He's sort of like, he's relatable to me in a sense. And he seems like a real dude, but the screenplay did everyone a disservice in Carry On. And I think that was the biggest detriment to the movie. But going back to my point of him just being on that earpiece, talking to Jason Bateman as he's being forced to do certain things, I thought had the movie just slowed down right there in the first act and gave me the majority of the movie right there, I thought that was interesting and compelling. I think that would have been intense and simple. I like movies like that. But then they almost go off the rails where they have to force all these different subplots with all these different characters. And every minute that movie progressed, I think it got worse and worse and worse, and all that suspense and logic just went out the window to the point where I'm like, this is just a cartoon movie at this point in the film, and I didn't care who lived or who died. And by the end of it, I'm just like, what are we even doing now? How did this even get to this point? There's one scene in this film, and don't worry, I'm not spoiling anything, even though it's the most cliche generic movie that you've already seen 40 times without seeing this movie. So I assure you there's probably no surprises in this. You can see every twist and turn coming from a mile away. But the one scene that my wife Nikki and I laughed at was there's this random scene of this detective, and there's like another guy in the car who's sort of a bad guy. And then they get in this fight in this vehicle going down the highway at 70 miles per hour. And it turns into a cutscene from a PS2 video game where just the camera's doing a 360 in the car. They're driving through traffic. It's comical. Like, you will laugh your ass off if you watch this scene. Or at least I know I did. And the way it ends is so abrupt. You would think a car, like, flipping over would slide and skid and there'd be debris and broken glass all over the place. No. This car flips over, instantly stops, and then they're just in it like this. It's just... I don't know. I don't know what Netflix is doing. But they had a good idea. They kind of stole Die Hard 2 and then kind of tweaked it a little bit. But after that first act, man, it just went completely downhill. And also, the one thing I did want to say is they also stole the idea from the movie The Rock from 1996, directed by Michael Bay, starring Nicolas Cage. Hell in the name of Zeus's butthole did you plan to get out of here? But they have a chemical gas in that film as well. Once it goes into the air, it's super deadly. So it feels like they sort of stole that plot device and put it into Carry On. So anyway, yeah, if you want a better movie, just go watch The Rock or Die Hard 2 or the first Die Hard. I mean, it is Christmas time, so it's definitely the time to watch Die Hard. And the last thing I want to talk about, the last main topic I want to talk about today is a little movie that came out called Mufasa The Lion King. Now, if you've been sticking around for a while, you might know I'm not a huge fan of the 2019 live-action Lion King movie. But I understand why it did so well, right? If you love the animated film, and I definitely did, from 1994. I saw it in theaters with my dad, loved it. Still remember going, eating the popcorn, and having a discussion with my dad outside in the parking lot about the film. I remember him talking about how vivid the colors were. And I was like, yeah, they were vivid. But I was a stupid little kid. So anyway, I understand why the first live action, and by live action, I mean 100% computer animated 2019 Lion King movie did so well. People were interested to see a new take or an adaptation of the animated movie. Completely makes sense. But with Mufasa coming out, this movie on opening weekend made $35 million domestically. The 2019 Lion King made, I believe, $192 million. So yeah, 192 compared to $32 million. That's a big difference. Now keep in mind, Mufasa costs almost $300 million when you add in the marketing cost to this movie. So will Disney make their money back? Maybe, probably not anytime soon, and it might take many years. But I'm not proud to say this, but I had to do it. I gave Disney, this soulless corporation, a few of my dollars by buying this at the movie theater. This is a Mufasa popcorn bucket. This is the most complex, over-the-top popcorn bucket ever made by humankind. Now, the best way to describe this popcorn bucket is it sort of looks like a giant turd that you eat corn out of. And I think that's a fair assessment. But just check this bad boy out. Huh? You reach in there, you grab some stale popcorn. It's a good time. And as I like to say, everything the light touches, I will eat. So, pretty cool popcorn bucket in my opinion. I had to get it. It has Mufasa right there looking into the distance. There you go. And I think it's kind of cool, man. I'm not going to lie to you. But the other thing is, if you do buy this and you actually want to logistically use it in the theater to eat popcorn out of, it's impossible. The only place you can put this is on your lap, and this isn't the most comfortable thing to have on your lap for 2 hours, and you're watching sort of a choking on the popcorn. I wonder if I choked on popcorn and died, if my family could sue Disney because I ate it out of the Lion King bucket. Anyway, let me take a drink of this. So anyway, my thoughts on Mufasa are, I think I liked it more than the 2019 Lion King movie, but I don't think anyone cares to go see a sequel that's not based on some pre-established IP. I think the general consensus is no one cares about the continuation of a live-action Lion King movie. We just don't care, okay? We liked the original. We liked the remake, or some people went to see it out of curiosity. But when it comes to continuing that story, no one cares. And I think the box office is clear proof of that. But as far as the movie goes, I thought it was fine. I was glad that it wasn't based on a pre-existing story. I liked that I didn't know everything that was going to happen, even though you do see some of the twists coming from a mile away. But I thought some of the adventure and journey that the characters go on was interesting. I thought young Scar, who they don't call Scar, but for the sake of this review, I will call him Young Scar without the scar. I thought I liked how his character really did evolve into this evil character and became this homicidal sociopath. And I almost bought into that because he starts off as like a good kid who's sort of a coward. And it was subtle at times, which I did appreciate. The other thing I wanted to say about Mufasa, as far as a character goes in this live action movie, was there's one aspect of his character where he goes and joins a pride of lions, and the men do not accept him, so he has to hang out with the lionesses. I think that's the correct terminology. But he has to hang out with the women, and because of that, he's better at hunting, and he has a more sensitive side where he understands women. And it reminded me of the Mel Gibson movie, What Women Want, because he just has these insights to what women want, but he's also really good at hunting, and he has like some skill sets that some of the men line don't have. So I thought that was kind of an interesting tweak on the character, though I will say this, he seemed way too sensitive and way too, I guess the word would be humble compared to what he becomes later on, or as you know, as Mufasa, with James Earl Jones doing the voice. He feels like a king. He's very stoic in a sense and great. And the younger version of him wasn't quite there, and I don't understand how he got from there to being this like stoic king, because the teenage version of him is almost nothing like that. But I didn't hate it. I think as far as a family film goes, it's fine. It's a good time. You'll watch it once and probably never watch it again. But I did see it in 3D, and I think that helps with movies like this. It just makes them more entertaining and slightly more immersive. So those are my quick thoughts on Mufasa and the Mufasa popcorn bucket. And with all that said, I'm going to dive into your questions now. So I will shut up about the topics, and we will just completely immerse into what you guys want to talk about or what you guys have to say. So here it goes. Let me scroll all the way back to about 25 minutes ago. And the first question comes from Dustin Rich, who says, is crypto ridiculous, adorable, or both? You know, I think both. I like crypto, and that probably will be one of the most enjoyable aspects of the movie. Now, I said this in my breakdown video of the trailer, which if you haven't seen it yet, it's over on the Flickpick channel. The link's down below. Go check it out and give it a like if you want. But I said this, and sometimes I go a little dark with things, but if you truly want Lex Luthor to be the epitome of filth and evil, if he were to take out Crypto the dog, would that not make him the best, most evil villain of all time? Okay? I'm just saying, you could have John Wick meet Superman, and we would all root for Superman to kick Lex Luthor's ass at that point. Right? I'm just putting it out there. I doubt they're going to do that, but if they did, I would salute James Gunn. That would be dark. But then again, who knows? Okay. But yeah, I think Crypto is definitely both of those things. Cody Gill says, Nolan says his favorite movie this year is Gladiator 2. Did he actually say that? Oh man. Did he actually say that? I don't know. Can you confirm that? That is bizarre to me. That is interesting coming from Nolan. That really is. That baffles me. I would like to know specifically what he liked about it. Maybe he's just a huge fan of Ridley Scott and he's trying to help the guy out. I don't know. I would say Gladiator was probably one of my most disappointing films of the year. It would probably be my most disappointing film of the last 5-10 years, to be honest with you. I felt like there were almost no redeeming qualities in Gladiator 2, and it hurts me to say that because I love the original. Nick Snyder says, did you hear the news about Nolan's next film is going to be The Odyssey? Ooh, is it? So what's the actual premise of it all? It's going to be The Odyssey? Someone let me know the premise. I didn't know they confirmed that just yet. Okay, the next one comes from Gabe Newell, who says, John, have you seen 9/11 2017 starring Charlie Sheen? I have not. Was that the one where he's stuck in an elevator or something? I remember seeing a trailer for it and thinking this looks like potentially the worst movie ever made. But I have not seen it. Sal says, what do you think about Nolan's upcoming 2026 movie, The Odyssey? So it is, in fact, called The Odyssey. The news just came out today. Yeah, sorry, I must have missed this. We were out today buying Christmas presents at the mall, which, by the way, if you're going to go to the mall, let me say this. I hate going out amongst the unwashed masses, and I usually hate everything about the mall. But going around Christmas time, it's sort of fun, and it reminds me of the 1990s. We go for an hour, I look around at a whole bunch of stuff I don't want to buy, and there's so many overwhelming smells and scents in the mall where everything just smells like perfume it's like being squirted up your nostrils straight onto your brain. And it almost makes you high when you're walking around. And I get really warm and dizzy. And where I'm like, we have to go outside. Okay. But nevertheless, back to your question. Yeah, so the Odyssey, man. Yeah, I need to read into this. Well, had I known that, I would have made it one of the topics. All right, we got Lewis Galley here, who gave me a nice little gif. Thanks for that. Jacob Kruika. Okay, we'll go with that. You guys know I can't read. All right, here it goes. Choose one, Johnny boy. F the Pigeon Lady, or do a complete Blu-ray collection. Whoa, okay, we went weird with this one. Do a complete Blu-ray collection erection video with John Campea, Lights Camera Jackson, and Brie Larson. Merry Christmas, my dude. Thanks for the years of vids. I don't even know what that video encompasses or entails, but when it comes to the Pigeon Lady, I did forget to mention this in my opening. I did watch Home Alone 2 last night, and now it's an annual tradition. The two holiday movies I will always watch are Home Alone 1 and 2. I genuinely mean this when I say it. I think those are my two favorite Christmas movies of all time, and you have to watch them back to back. You just have to, right? And I could debate which one's more entertaining or which one's better, but after watching them both again this year, I would definitely say Home Alone 1 is the better movie. But Home Alone 2, I think if you're a younger kid and you're not in love with the original, I think that would be a way to entertain a younger kid because just more happens. He's running around the city. He has he's getting 3 scoops of ice cream. 2, make it 3. I ain't driving. But the annual price I always have to pay. This is what I have to do every year. I know I'm going to pay this price. I have to look at the Pigeon Lady throughout the film of Home Alone 2 Lost in New York. And I've accepted that at this point, but I will say this. Whenever I eat, when I watch Home Alone 2, I make sure to not have any food in the proximity of my being when the Pigeon Lady comes on screen. I just find her so utterly disgusting. I get this acid reflex whenever I see her on the screen that just goes, I just can't look at her. I almost squint my eyes when she comes on the screen. And that's my best advice to all of you. If you don't want to look at some lady covered in pigeon shit hanging out with a young boy, just look away from the screen at certain moments in Home Alone 2. Oh, gosh. Anyway, originally, did you guys know for Home Alone 2, the original concept that they had, in place of the Pigeon Lady, they actually wanted Kevin McAllister to meet up with a homeless teenage kid who might have been a few years older than him, who was living in the streets. Maybe he was a runaway from home. And during the third act of that movie, they actually team up to take down the Wet Bandits. And for me, that feels like the biggest missed opportunity of all of cinematic history. Not only could you do something interesting, and I think it would have really depended on who they cast as this older kid. Like if they would have cast someone like Corey Feldman, I don't know if that would have worked. But like you could have got rid of the Pigeon Lady and had like this cool concept where they team up. I think that would have been really cool. But nevertheless, I did just watch Home Alone 2. So to go with your question, I'd much rather do the Blu-ray video, man. Mike Silver says, hell yeah, Man of Steel was badass. It was. I love it. I got my Man of Steel 10 back there. I made a flip trip video going to pick that bad boy up at 2 o'clock in the morning. That's when Walmarts used to be open 24 hours a day. I miss those days. I felt so free and alive. And every year that inches by, the days get gloomier, the nights get darker, and my soul slowly trickles away into the abyss. Gilliam LaBelle here, who says, Happy holidays, John. Do you know how to talk? No, I do not. Good to see you. Well, good to see all of you too, man. And you too, Gilliam. All right. P.I. Addy Diddy. Let me make sure all the questions are popping up here. Here we go. Okay. All right. Pre-Addy Diddy says, I still have Claudio Rogajon and Night King 01 in my dungeon. I'll free them if you use some of my baby oil and flex those biceps. Don't get scared now. Hey, for a $5 super chat, that's what you get. Sorry you can't see the glorious biceps today. Usually I cover them in popcorn butter, but I have a sweater on. But you can see Macaulay Culkin. Look at this. I'll flex my pecs. That means he's concerned. That's all I got for you. I'm sorry. I'll never do that again. But anyway, don't get scared now. Thanks for the question, and I hope you free them from your dungeon. Or leave them there. Either one. Mike Silver says, "Hey, John and all, Merry Christmas, you filthy animals." Absolutely, guys. Merry Christmas. I always have to get out one live show around the Christmas time season, and this is the one. But we will do another one before December ends, so don't worry. Sorry, the super chats are flying by okay, here, let's go to this one here. All right. Here it goes. Speak of the devil, Claudia Rogajon says, "Hey, John, I just wanted to ask, what are your extended thoughts on all the characters in the Superman movie? I'm afraid personally because a movie called Superman should be just about Superman. Also, what was that electric guitar kind of cringe, or is it just me?" So those are all valid points, Claudio. Those are all valid points. Now let's dive into depth, okay? I like that electric guitar in the Superman theme. I'm a sucker for an electric guitar, okay? We've had a lot of variations of the Superman theme, but I think adding that electric guitar, it just felt sexy to me and almost electrifying, and I enjoyed it. So I like the electric guitar. It has like a nice like throwback. It reminds me of the 1980s. I like it. I really do. I think it's different. So maybe that's a personal thing, but hey, it's all subjective anyway. So I enjoyed the electric guitar. Your next, I do think they're throwing a lot of characters in the trailer, but I don't think a lot of these characters are going to have a ton of time on the screen. I think they will be a subplot. And as far as everything I know about this trailer and all of the characters, you have Green Lantern, played by Jason Fillion, who looks like Uncle Fester from the Addams Family. And then you have Hawk Girl, or we can call her Hawk Tua Girl, whatever you want. I think they are sort of like a small group of superheroes that corporations sort of sponsor, like in the show The Boys. So that might be sort of an aspect of that. So I'm not quite sure on the details, but I don't mind that because this sets up the foundation for the DCU to really just accept that there's other superheroes in this universe. And once we get past that hurdle, we can kind of do anything we want in that universe. So I think that's going to help propel that concept to people. Like, oh, there's other superheroes. It's not just Superman. So when you guys see Batman show up or see a Green Lantern show in a couple years, people won't be shocked by it. So I don't mind it in a sense. And also, I will say this. I think in a movie called Superman, you should definitely focus on Superman. But I think if you have a 2 hour and 20-minute runtime, sometimes when it comes to Superman, small doses work better. And what I mean by that is you can get your point across. You can tell the story with the character. But if you take time and show other characters in the film, I feel like we won't get overexposed to Superman. Because once we see him fly the first few times, you're going to be like, okay, well, we've been here, we've done it. But to cut away to other characters doing different things, I think that kind of savors the flavor for Superman. And then don't get me wrong, I want to see him do crazy Superman shit in the third act of the movie. And maybe there's a slow-mo scene where Krypto, the dog, saves the day. I'm just putting it out there. If you have a dog in a big epic action superhero movie and you don't have him do a slow-mo scene where he just saves somebody randomly, where the crowd just cheers, well, what are you doing with your life? All right, let's go to the next one here. Jacob Kruika. We answered this one already. Skylar Wheelock says, "Do you think making video game movies is a good idea? It does well for the audience, but not many critics like them." Well, that's because 99% of them suck ass, but we'll get to that in 1 second. Do you think it'll be a good idea to start turning every game into a movie like Mario and Sonic 3? Because those don't feel like video game movies. No, they really don't. They just sort of feel like animated movies that kind of use the IP of the original character. And maybe that's why they're successful. But then again, when it comes to Mario and Sonic, I think those clearly cater to a young demographic of children who like big animated movies, like Pixar movies. And I think once you go younger and you make it a complete family film, it's probably going to be more successful. It just is. Parents want to take their kids to go see a movie and get away from reality for a couple minutes. But when you try to make something a little grittier and edgier in the video game genre of movies, that's where it seems like it fails the majority of the time. And they can't quite get it right. And I'll tell you my favorite video game movie of all time is Mortal Kombat 1995. Saw it in theaters like 5 times. Loved it. lived it, needed it. And at the time, I was a huge fan of the video games, right? I can still kind of remember how to do Sub-Zero's fatality in Mortal Kombat 2. Anyway, where was I going with that? Oh yeah, so yeah, modern day video game movies, they can't quite get it right. And when it came to the new live action Mortal Kombat movie it came out in 2020 during COVID, I was really hoping that would be awesome. And they had some great ideas, but man, it just when Johnny Cage, or I'm sorry, it wasn't even Johnny Cage. They had some generic character name. What was his name? Like Kane or something stupid. When he randomly got in a fight with Goro in some guy's garage in their backyard, and I was like, this is where this showdown's going to take place. I was like, this isn't what I wanted. So don't get me wrong, I would love some good video game movie adaptations. I just don't know if they're capable of doing it. Those are the types of movies, those are the types of films Netflix should be making, right? Because you don't expect much, so buy the IP, make a Netflix version of every video game movie, live action, and that's what they can do, right? I'd much rather see that than movies like Carry On that just steal ideas from better movies. All right, let's go to the next one here. Who says, did we answer this? Oh, we answered that. Rex says, what are some of your Christmas traditions? I usually just go to the in-laws' house, and then I go to my mom's house, and my wife's brothers, my brother-in-laws, which is weird to say, but kind of feels good inside. They're coming over tonight for a Christmas movie, a little movie night at our house. So we haven't decided on the movie yet. I haven't decided. I'm leaning towards Jingle All the Way as of right now. I'm not above it. I just wanted a Turbo Man doll. Oh, God. I want to get that tattooed on me so bad. Anyway, so those are a few family traditions that we do. I like to keep it simple. But one of my traditions I've always done is I watch Home Alone 1 and 2 no matter what. Skylar Wheelock says, with Roman Reigns taking on Solo Sikoa on Raw's Netflix debut, more wrestling feuds need to end on free TV. Not every feud needs to end on a pay-per-view or AKA premium live event. Make the weekly programming feel special again. Yeah, absolutely. When it comes to pro wrestling, I love it. It's the one thing I make sure I watch every week. I watch Raw and SmackDown in my underwear as I perform wrestling moves on a silk pillow. Half of that's true, but I won't tell you which. No, I think the Raw debut of on Netflix, this is the time to put the big matches to earn a new audience that typically wouldn't give a shit about pro wrestling. This is the time to really sell your product. And I do agree with you. I think occasionally, maybe like once a month, you have a big match on Raw or SmackDown. And I think we're going to get there, especially with Netflix. I think we're going to get there. So I completely concur with you. And by the way, just on a side note, this week I had half a mind. I was like, I sort of like wrestling, pro wrestling specifically, as much as I like movies. And I almost wanted to start a new YouTube channel to align with the debut of Raw on Netflix. It felt like the beginning of the year, start a new channel, but I don't know if I could juggle it. I don't know. Just putting it out there. I don't know. Okay, the next one comes from P. Addy Diddy, who says, also regarding popcorn bucket ideas from the last stream, Requiem for a Dream, Jennifer Connelly's ass with a free cucumber straw for your drink. That's not the worst idea I've ever heard. Would I purchase that? Yes, I would. But I don't know if you could get away with that one. Maybe. But then again, if you can get away with selling a giant turd for $40 with a lion on it, then you can get away with selling a popcorn bucket that looks like a bum. But the cucumber might be too much. The next one comes from Jake Blair, who says, John, remember Taco Bell runs The Boys before seeing a double feature at the theater circa 2005? Those were the days. Oh, John, remember Taco Bell runs with The Boys? Yes. Yeah, Taco Bell, and call me crazy, it used to taste better, did it not? and sometimes it tastes okay, but unless it betrays you and you end up on the toilet at 3 o'clock in the morning. But occasionally, can I tell you a story about Taco Bell? Because I have a story relating to Taco Bell I need to share with you. There are 2 Taco Bells in the proximity of my home. Now, one is actually closer than the other, but I actually go to the further location because I like the dudes working there. It's a whole bunch of dudes, and they're always working late at night. And you pull up and you think, oh God, man, like these guys don't care about my food. They're going to spit in it, throw it on the ground. But they are the nicest guys when you talk to them. Like even when you order, they're so nice. And I've wanted to like leave a positive review for that location and make sure they give all these dudes a raise. But anyway, with all that said, I have went to Taco Bell like once I found this location because I'm weird when it comes to fast food. I'm very particular with the fast food locations I go to and who handles my food, right? There have been many places that I pulled up to, I looked in the window and said, nope, and go to another place and never go back. So when I find one, I stick to it. So I have gotten Taco Bell a few times in the last month from this very specific location. And if you live in Fort Wayne, I highly recommend that you go to the Taco Bell on Jefferson Boulevard, okay? Best one in the whole town, all right? Everyone go leave a positive Google review. All right, the next one comes from, plus the cinnamon twist. Oh, God, I could just crunch them up and snort them. All right, the next one comes from Jake Blair. Oh, we just answered Jake's question. James Dosher says, hello, John. Hope you have a Merry Christmas. Well, happy Merry Christmas to you too, James. And by the way, James has been a member for 37 glorious months, and I thank you for that. Thanks, James. Rex says, have you heard of the new Beverly Tarantino cinema? I went in October, and it was excellent. Prince of Darkness and The Quartermaster was playing. Yeah, I have heard of this. Tarantino, director Tarantino, I think, has an actual movie theater. And I remember hearing about this on he just did a podcast on Joe Rogan, and I remember listening to it. But can I mention this? Tarantino has a podcast called Video Archives or something like that, and I've never listened to it, and I want to, but it's on Patreon. But when I was listening to Tarantino on the Joe Rogan podcast, they were really pushing this podcast really hard, their own podcast on Patreon. And he's like, yeah, it's just $5 and it's for the fans, and you can pay $5 and listen to the podcast. And here's the thing that baffles me. And I'm all for people making money with their art or whatever. I have a Patreon, okay? But the thing is, I'm not worth $120 million like Quentin Tarantino. So I don't understand why he's so desperate to get some like $2 Patreon supporters. It's just like, really? Do you really need it? It's like you could go sign autographs for 20 minutes and make all that money. It'd be fine. So anyway, I love me some Tarantino though, but I will just put that out there. All right. The next one comes from Dustin Rich, who says, did you hear Christmas Bale? Or I'm sorry. I got Christmas on my brain. Did you hear that Christian, not Christmas Bale, though Christmas Bale would be interesting. Did you hear Christian Bale based his American Psycho performance on Tom Cruise? Do you think he's ever asked someone to death in the name of Xenu? Yeah, so I did hear about his motivation for the character of Patrick Bateman, and I think Christian Bale, much like myself, can see through people, and I think Tom Cruise probably at the core of who he is a complete narcissist and sociopath. I think that is clear. I think that's blatantly obvious. It doesn't mean that you can't like his movies, because I do like his movies, and I think he is truly the last remaining big blockbuster celebrity star left in Hollywood. I really do. His name still means something when you put it on a poster. But with all that said, what you're referencing is there's an interview on the David Letterman show where Tom Cruise is on there and he's laughing, but you can just see like his mouth is doing the acting, but his eyes and his mind are somewhere else, and it's so disingenuous and fake, and you can just see that he's dead inside. But anyway, that's where that's coming from, right? It's like you can perform the emotion, but because you're a sociopath, you don't actually understand or feel the emotion. And I think that sums up Tom Cruise. Just putting it out there. Any guy who loves to watch himself any dude who loves to watch himself run in every single movie for the last 35 years, you have to be slightly narcissistic, right? It's like, oh, look at that 5'7" guy run down the street. It's like, okay, we see it, Tom. We see it. It's so beautiful. All right. Let's go to the next. Let's go to the next question here. The Dark Mike says, Merry Christmas. Hot take. 28 weeks later is better than 28 days later. Your thoughts? That's a great question. And so I will say this. It's been a very, very long time since I've seen either movie. 28 days or 28 weeks later. And I think the last time I sat down and watched 28 weeks later was at the theater when I watched the movie. And my initial thoughts on the movie were it wasn't as good as 28 days later. I liked something about 28 days later more. But with all that said, I want to go back and revisit both of them, especially with the upcoming 28 years later, which I'm really looking forward to. But the thing I remember most about 28 days later was it was shot on like DV videotapes. And if you don't know what that is, it was like a digital videotape, right? It wasn't completely digital and it wasn't film. And it looks really bad. Like, especially I think there was like a Blu-ray of it or something, and it just looked really bad because it was shot on this substandard video format. But at the same time, I think it almost adds something to it where it feels so early 2000s and like weird and dirty and digital looking at the same time. So I'd like to go back and revisit it just for that. All right, let's go to the next one here who says... Skylar Wheelock says, is it going to be an emotional experience at the Royal Rumble witnessing John Cena's last Rumble in person? Either way, you're going to be part of history in that crowd, John. And what returns/surprises do you see taking place at the Royal Rumble? Oh, thanks for the question, Skylar. So yeah, I am going to the WWE Royal Rumble in Indianapolis it's February 1st, and I am going to the SmackDown the night before, which also takes place in Indianapolis. And I've never been to a Royal Rumble, and this is going to be in the Colts football stadium. It holds like 80,000 people. And I'm looking forward to it, man. I think it's just going to be a spectacle. And who do I want to see? I want to see, I think Goldust might have a surprise cameo return. I think that would be a good time. I really do. But I have seen John Cena wrestle at Fastlane just a couple years ago, also in Indianapolis. But I'll take everything I can get. And that's the thing about the Royal Rumble. You get 30 contestants. You get 30 women. It's pure mayhem. I'm definitely looking forward to it. I have seats for the show, and they're okay seats, but every day they keep opening up new seats or closer to the actual ring itself. And don't get me, and listen, I'm not gonna buy the seats beside the ring. No. Those are like $7,000. I'm poor, but I am buying the ones like lower in the lower bowl of the arena. And those are the ones I might switch. I'm not quite sure. It just depends. It's a huge stadium. Either way, I'm gonna need like binoculars to see anything that's going on. All right, the next one comes from Cody Gill, who says, finally, a Superman suit that can get damaged. Absolutely. You know, I like that. I like that the suit looks a little tattered and torn and it looks like it's getting beat up on. And there's always room to do a different suit. Maybe by the third act of the movie, he gets a new suit. Or maybe this one gets so beat to shit and so tattered and torn where he has to get a new suit in the sequel. And that would be a logical, continuation that would make sense. So I like that the suit looked a little beat up and rough. I like things like that. I hate when you see a crisp, clean superhero in a movie. It's like, clearly that guy doesn't do his job. So absolutely. The next one comes from Knock, who says, Love your content, John. Been watching for 10 years. Besides Breaking Bad and Game of Thrones, what are some of your favorite shows? I hope Seinfeld's on that list. Also, I would add Better Call Saul. The wife and I are actually rewatching. Well, she's never seen it. We're watching Better Call Saul. We're at season 2 right now, at the 8th episode, and I forgot how much I enjoy that show. It progressively gets better as it goes. Not many shows can say that. But outside of those shows that you put on there, one of my favorite shows of all time is Stranger Things. It really is. Nothing gives me more feels than Stranger Things. I enjoy going back to the 1980s, and I like how every season has sort of a different tone or a different vibe to it that sort of captures another franchise or sci-fi film that's existed. And for example, the season 4 Stranger Things had a Nightmare on Elm Street vibe, which just gave me everything I needed from that season. But I'm definitely looking forward to Stranger Things 5. And I'll tell you how nerdy and weird I am. I read Reddit forums about rumors and news speculating on the things that will happen in Stranger Things 5. But oddly enough, I don't want anything spoiled for me. So I don't know how that's going to work out. But definitely looking forward to it. So yeah, I'd put Stranger Things on that list. Also, as far as Seinfeld goes, Seinfeld to me is the show I watch when I don't know what else to watch, but I just want something to look at that makes me sort of feel something, like something happy. And I watch it every time before I go to bed. That's when I watch Seinfeld. And I think that's I think 99% of people who watch a Seinfeld rerun are probably just watching it right before they go to sleep. It's like, it doesn't push your limits. It's mild, it's tame, it's witty, it's funny, but it just rides this nice even keel, doesn't it? Like, your emotions aren't going to go too high. The most outrageous, exciting thing that can happen in Seinfeld is Kramer comes through the door, Jerry! And that's it. And you're like, okay, that's enough excitement as I'm trying to fall asleep. Okay, let's go to the next one here. And that comes from Doyle Status, who says, Mufasa flops, love to see it, excited for Nosferatu. So yeah, do you guys want to talk about Nosferatu? I did see that. And I'm sorry I didn't mention it earlier. Please forgive me. Let me punish myself. Ow. So yeah, as far as your question goes, here it is. Oh yeah, Mufasa flopping. I think the movie... You know what? Did they not ask anyone? Did they not ask general audiences, hey, would you be interested in a sequel to this or not? Or did they simply just look at the box office numbers of the original live action Lion King movie, or The Lion King from 2019, and go, that made $1 billion. Make a sequel no matter what. I just don't think the interest is there for a continuation of live action Lion King movies. I really don't. Because the thing is, when it comes to this new installment, the biggest praise I can give this movie, and it's almost like they learned something from the predecessor, is in that 2019 installment, the emotions almost had facial paralysis. It was just watching a emotionless lion run around doing things, and that scene where little Simba goes, ah, when he screams in the pit where the horde of antelope are coming. Comical, because his face doesn't even move. You just hear this outrageous scream emanating from it. But with all that said, in Mufasa, the Lion King, the lions are actually showing more expression this time around. And I would say, like, okay, good, you did the right thing here. And for that reason alone, I was actually more interested in the story. So, because if I want to watch just lions doing lion shit that look like lions, I'll watch National Geographic. And by the way, I'll tell you something weird about me, and I don't know how I got there, but every other TikTok video I get is literally like wild animals in Africa eating each other. Like, I just watched a rhino fight an elephant the other day, and it was like, this is phenomenal. But that's Mother Nature. You got to respect it. It's terrifying, but it's bizarre that this is happening. So, where was I going with that? I'm not quite sure, but I'm glad that you're glad that The Lion King flopped. But as far as Nosferatu goes, or Nosferatu, please forgive me, I liked it. But I will say this. I love me some Robert Eggers, but I was hoping, and he had a fine line to ride with making Nosferatu. He really did, because you have to appease people who love the classics. And there's been a few remakes over the years, like Bram Stoker's Dracula, which is essentially the story of Nosferatu. But this new installment, I think it tweaks small things, but the general story itself is, you know it already if you've seen the originals, right? I like Nicholas Hoult in the role. I liked the look of it. It definitely felt gritty and grungy and moist. And by moist, what I mean by that is it does take place in Europe, and it just feels like everything's so damp. The entire movie, it's gloomy, and I love that, right? It looked beautiful. And I loved the first act of the film as well. But beyond that, it sort of just went where I expected it to go, and it was nice to look at. I think Johnny Depp's daughter did really well in the role, and she fits the part so well. Like, she just looks like she should also star in like Tim Burton gothy movies, or be subdued by a vampire, because she just has that look to her. You know what I'm talking about? But maybe there's a bit of nepotism also going on there. Do you think she'd be in the movie if she wasn't Johnny Depp's daughter? I don't know. But I thought she did well in the part. But my favorite part was the first act. And after that, it kind of just went the typical route I thought it would. I liked the design of Nosferatu. I thought this time around, he sort of has like a mustache. And I liked that. And very menacing. But I wish we would have taken our time in the first act of the movie, because they go to the castle and it's so immersive and scary, and I wanted more insight to how he lives his life as a vampire. Give me a little more backstory here. Like, expand on how you actually function in this castle. Like, tell me the logistics of this. And I just wanted more time in his actual castle before we moved on from there. So anyway, solid movie. It might make my top 10 best of the year. I definitely think it's worth a watch, and it looks beautiful. Okay, let's go to the next question here. And that next question is, James Dosher says, do you care about Sonic 3? Just wondering. You know, I do want to see it, but I have not seen Sonic 2. I've seen Sonic 1, and I thought it was fine, but it didn't really pump me up to go see another Sonic movie. It just felt like it's Sonic, but and they're borrowing some things from the game, but it just feels like the CGI character hanging out with a human character as a sidekick on Earth, and it felt like a much better version of Alvin and the Chipmunks. And I get why people like it. I do, and I love the games, and I think if the movie was a little more, I don't know, retro-y feeling like the games, and it didn't just feel like a CGI character stuck on Earth, that to me would be far more fascinating. I do want to see Sonic 2, but I feel like I have to see Sonic 2 before I see Sonic 3. But it's one of those films where when I have nothing else better to do, I will check it out kind of movie. Will some form of hallucinogenics possibly help that experience? Absolutely. But I love the games, man. There was nothing better than, because I didn't have a Sega. I was always like a Nintendo kid, but my buddy had a Sega, and every time I went over there, it was like going to another universe. You're like, ooh, you got the Sega. It's all new games. Ghouls and Ghosts, baby. Give it to me now. But we'd always play Sonic over there. So I'll check out the movie at some point. All right, the next one comes from Skylar Wheelock, who says, what's the Christmas song you would be okay never hearing again? Oh, Mariah Carey's Christmas song that was just playing. I swear every store I went into the mall tonight was playing the Mariah Carey's Christmas song. Oh. All right, let's go to the next question here. Bakatir says, "'Tis the season for giving up. Happy holidays, everyone." Absolutely. Well, Bakatir, don't give up. You're here now. I hope this gives you hope and inspiration. And by hope and inspiration, I hope you want to sit in your bathtub with a toaster. Never. I'm just kidding. I hope you don't want to do that. What I'm saying is, do I make you depressed? I hope I don't. Okay. All right. Hey, I didn't say it was plugged in. Let's go to the next question. I'm sorry for that. Christopher Butcher says, Merry Christmas, John. Well, Merry Christmas to all of you. And you have been a subscriber or / member for 55 months. I couldn't even tell you how many years that is, but it feels like it's been a long time, man. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that, man. It's been a long time. Jeez. The months are just flying by, aren't they? I don't want to get too philosophical on you. Let's go to the next question here. And the next one comes from Bryce Tiffany, who says, "Hey, John, been watching since 2015. When I was in middle school, I'm from Greenville, South Carolina. Well, I actually used to live there a handful of years ago, man. And then I lived in Simpsonville, South Carolina for like 7 months. Anyway, so I hope to run into you when you moved there. In a non-pervy way, of course. How did you like Greenville? Love you." Hey, I don't care if it's pervy or not, man. Either one works for me. Yeah, so I didn't go, I only went to like the movie theater there. I didn't go many places. I thought it's a cool town. It's nice. You guys have very mild winters, but I do remember one night I was going to go work out at the gym and like one snowflake landed on the ground in the city of Greenville, South Carolina, and they shut the city down at like 8 o'clock. And I'm like, what? I'm like, sometimes when there's 9 feet of snow, they leave school open for the small children to walk to in Indiana. So, but no, it was a cool place. It really was. What is this? Enrig GM or Enrique GM. You know I can't read, but please forgive me. Here it goes. "John, please be my friend. If you're watching me right now, I like to say we are friends. Welcome to the Flick family. All you have to do is join me occasionally. That's all I need." Okay, let's keep going here. "I would rather have Seth Green as Patrick Bateman instead of Austin Butler. Thank you for being back on YouTube. You are needed." Well, thank you for that. It feels good to be needed. And I'm going to be honest with you. You guys keep me warm and tingly at night. I'm not going to lie to you. As much as you guys like watching me, I like being here. It's fulfilling, emotionally and spiritually. I do mean that in all seriousness. But as far as your question goes, could you imagine Seth Green as Patrick Bateman? Could you imagine Seth Rogen as Patrick Bateman? "Don't just look at it, eat it." Let's go to the next question. Kevin Kruger says, "For $1 billion, would you be in a human centipede with the pigeon lady for a month?" That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. Oh, man. The only way I could be in a human centipede with the pigeon lady, and hear me out for 1 second, I would not be on the back end of that experience. If she was on the back end, where she belongs, because let's all be honest, bird shit does not matter to her. So what will this matter? It'd be just another day in the park to this lady. So yes, for $1 billion, yeah, sure. Yeah, let's do that. Okay. Let's, oh, by the way, check this out. Put them up. My favorite hoodie, just in case. I can either fight injustice or I can rob a liquor store, depending on whatever mood I'm in. All right, let's go to the next one here. Skylar Wheelock says, "How is it that a director like Nolan shot the worst death scene in history of cinematic history with Talia al Ghul's death? Bane's death also always annoyed me. He's the ultimate threat for the entire film and then just gets killed and they treat it like it's no big deal." I do agree with both of those things. And it's when Talia al Ghul dies, and let's just, for the sake of the video, reenact it. "My father's plan will always live on." It's like, that's the best take you had of that. You're sure? My question is, does Christopher Nolan understand how people die? I don't know. It is terrible. And then the Bane sequence in that film, even when I was watching it in the theater, I thought like the way they even shot it was so underwhelming. Like I just remember the shot was like, it didn't look like the right angle to showcase the missile hitting him. By the way, on a side note, have you ever seen the 1996 movie Broken Arrow with Christian Slater and John Travolta? The ending sequence of that, where and spoilers, but sorry, there's like a huge tomahawk missile that impales John Travolta, and the way that that's shot, is so awesome. That would have been a cool way to kill Bane. Now, would that have been completely outrageous and felt like a 1995 action movie? Maybe, but it would have been better than what we got. But I agree with you on that one. All right, the next one comes from Logan CD, who says, "Hi, John. I always miss the live show, but lurk in the shadows. Anyway, what are your thoughts on the Italian Job with Marky Mark?" Well, thank you for lurking in the shadows, and thanks for being a long-time viewer, first-time caller. But as far as the Italian Job, I remember liking it much more than I do now. It's been a while since I've watched it, but when that movie came out, at the time, I remember I might have just gotten my license, or I was very close to it, but there was nothing else to go see at the movie theater for what felt like a few months. And I remember seeing that movie with like 3 different groups of friends because it was the only thing to watch. But I always liked it. It was like our first introduction to Jason Statham. Charlize Theron's in the movie. It's a good little heist movie where they're driving little Mini Coopers. I like all that stuff. But there's just much better heist movies. But you know, with all that said though, could I watch it again on a rainy night? Probably, yeah. And speaking of Seth Green, huh? All right, the next one comes from ADSD Vids, who says, "Have you seen My Left Foot from 1989? The Pigeon Lady won an Oscar for her character." I have not seen that. I have not seen My Left Foot. That is one movie I can honestly say I haven't seen. I almost want to look up the poster now because who knows? I might have. My Left Foot movie. Yeah, I've never seen this. It's got a 7.8 on IMDb. Okay, never seen it. Interesting. I did not know that existed. But thank you for putting that into the Flick Pick universe. Now I want to watch a trailer. All right, the next one comes from Skylar Wheelock, who says, "Nolan making a sword and sandals epic on Homer's Odyssey. Hope Pattinson is the lead. He was the best part in Tenet." I love me some Pattinson. I really do. Who would have thought? It's just like, who would have thought we could all say that? That guy from Twilight's going to be Batman, and you're going to like it. And you think you're absolutely crazy. And then you get it, and you're like, okay, thank you. But as far as, okay, so it's going to be about Homer's Odyssey. It's an epic swords and sandals movie. That is interesting. Well, I love me a good sword and sandals epic. I really do. And Gladiator was not the epic I wanted it to be. But like, I love movies like Troy. I love movies like Gladiator. So this gets my juice. This is not what I was expecting. There was a lot of rumors and speculation on what the next Nolan movie was going to be. Somebody said it was going to be like a genre film, like a vampire movie set in the 1920s. And then there was another rumor going around that the other Nolan movie could be a big epic movie about 2 helicopter pilots played by Matt Damon and Spider-Man. Oh gosh, Tom Holland. And it was going to be like a huge action spectacle movie. And I sort of liked the sound of that. That sounded kind of cool to me, but a sword and sandals epic on Homer's Odyssey. Okay. Well, I'm intrigued. I really am. All right. Jacob Krueka says, "John, it's the YouTube shitbox super chat system. No erection is necessary. Laugh out loud." Okay, so earlier I thought his question included me doing a Blu-ray collection video with an erection, and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to sustain that for an hour of video. But anyway, let's keep going. "I've been watching for 10 plus years and happy you're back to making regular videos." Well, thank you for that. Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, it's good to be back. I really do mean that. You guys are too good to me. It really does mean a lot. Sometimes I have what I would like to call an existential midlife crisis at 2 o'clock in the morning, where I step outside of my own body and I get really, I look at myself from a third person perspective, and I'm like, I watch a YouTube video of mine and I think to myself, is that really me? Like that, I said that and that's me, and people look at that. It's a weird experience. And if I start critiquing it too much, I almost have a panic attack. Let's go to the next question. But thank you. 10 long years, man. You know, next year, next October, will be 15 years of making YouTube videos. I've never committed to anything that long in my entire life. 15 long years. That's bizarre, man. That really is. All right, let's go to the next one here. Robert Giacchino Robert Giacinta. Did I say that right? Okay, here we go. How much would you pay to watch Chauncey Phillips and Wet movie one-to mud wrestle? One-on-one mud wrestle? Okay. I probably wouldn't pay a lot for it, but if it was on YouTube and I could watch it free of charge, I'd probably check it out and I would give the video a like. I love me some Chauncey Phillips and Wet movie, man. Those were the original dudes talking about movies on the internet, right? And if you don't watch Chauncey Phillips, if you like dudes who love physical media, I will shout him out. Check out his channel. And he was the first YouTube channel I ever subscribed to. So Chauncey Phillips. But here's my impression of him. I don't have a movie in my hand, but he'd always do this. Hey everybody, welcome to my DVD update for September 9th, 1997. That's my impression of Chauncey Phillips. I love it. When I hear that, it makes me happy. Okay, let's go to the next one. Mark Hickey says, John, I was chatting up the girl of my dreams. I saw you were live and ran away. Did I make the right choice? Absolutely not. No. Do you want to spend the rest of your life alone with a silk pillow to keep you company? But then again, thanks for joining me. Don't go anywhere. She won't treat you as good as I do. You know that. All right. The next one comes from Stan, 1996. Just watched American Psycho. What is your favorite scene? What isn't my favorite scene in American Psycho? Okay. I mean, the scene where he, really, it's my GIF. You guys, if you super chat something, you see my GIF of American Psycho. That's the most iconic scene for me. But really, I think the business card scene is something that I immensely enjoy more and more every time I watch it. I just think that's beautiful in a sense. So I think that might be my favorite scene of the movie. The one that just makes me laugh my ass off the most. But when he's going crazy and then Christy. So yeah. There's so many scenes in American Psycho I love. Oh, also like the other funny minute scene I love in American Psycho is when he goes in the bathroom to wash his hands, but he's wearing gloves. I like that as well. I've been there. Okay, let's go to the next one. Joel Turner says, what's a movie you don't fully understand but love anyway? For me, it's Eyes Wide Shut. I've seen Eyes Wide Shut once, and to tell you what the true deep meaning of it is off the top of my head, I don't know. Wasn't it like, oh God, what's the term I'm looking for? Not symbolism, but anyway, it was something to do with like society and the corruption and how behind everything is this like seedy mentality of filth. Maybe that's what I took away from it. I don't remember specifically. But I remember there was, I do remember take it off. Things like that. I forget the social commentary. That's the word I was looking for. Sorry. I do remember reading about this at one point on a Reddit forum. And I'm sure that's the direction it sort of went. But I don't recall a lot about the movie. Another movie, I'm trying to think a movie that I didn't comprehend. I'm trying to think. I off the top of my head, there's always, if there is a movie, I always kind of read about it after the fact. I mean, maybe when it originally came out, well, no, I comprehended Fight Club even the first time I saw it. I'm trying to think of something. I honestly am. That's a great question for everyone in the watching right now. What is a movie that you didn't quite understand the first time you saw it? I think a majority of us can relate to on this topic would be Interstellar. Like, there's a lot I picked up on it. There's a lot of profound ideas that the movie throws at you that, your brain can't quite articulate all of it or comprehend it. But maybe Interstellar off the top of my head. That's one movie that you always will learn more of when the years pass by, because if you tell me you comprehended every minute aspect about Interstellar the one time you watched it, I think you're a liar. There's no way. But there's a lot of interpretation to have. Yeah, Tenet, that was one I didn't quite get, but then again, I was kind of just my brain wanted to give up halfway through the movie. The Lighthouse, great. Inception, yes, another good one. I still have so many questions about Inception, and the first one being, the deeper you go in each layer of the dream, the longer you're there. So by like the third layer, when they're in the snow fortress level, weren't they there like 10 months? So you're telling me time passes slower when you're that deep in the dream. So you were on a snowy mountain for 10 months? Or were you like staying at a Holiday Inn down the road, and then when the time came, you said, okay, we need to go to this place now? I didn't quite, I didn't know how the time paradox worked for that incident. So anyway, yeah, Midsummer, The Whale, Krampus, Mulholland Drive, Enemy, The Matrix. Yeah, these are some good ones. Yeah, I would say for me, I kind of always get the general vibe or what it's going for, but there's so many little subtle messages and symbolism going on that you'll never pick it all up the first time. So, The Room, yes, I don't think there's one person on the planet that has a cognitive ability to comprehend what The Room is trying to give us. I really don't. Maybe one day in 1,000 years, when we're all dead and gone, an alien civilization will crash land on Earth and come across a VHS copy, not a Blu-ray, not a DVD copy, but a VHS copy of The Room, and watch that shit and think, wow, we get this. This was the best civilization that ever existed in the universe, and they really understood it. Tommy Wiseau, we will look at you going forward as the pinnacle. What was the question? Oh, yeah. So movies that we didn't comprehend. So, yeah, maybe The Room could be one of those. The next question comes from Hooray by Jordy, who says, John, please make that wrestling channel a Merry Christmas, you filthy animal. I might. I would like to talk about WWE things at least once a week because, truth be told, I like it as much as I like movies at this point in my life, and that's the truth. So, but both of them... the thing I enjoy about both of those are it's pure escapism away from life. And I think that's what I'm craving more of at this point. So I might make the wrestling channel. Let me think on it, because then I got to do a brand new channel, and I don't want to throw wrestling stuff on this channel because, it just gets messy. So I would have to make a new channel for it, and building a new channel at this point in my life, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I can do it. But if you'd subscribe to that, let me know. All right, the next one comes from... Oh, gosh. Let me slow down here. Okay. Okay. Nora Sinclair says, hey, John, can you do a Mark Wahlberg Boogie Nights impression? Absolutely, I can. Let me take a sip of this caffeinated beverage real quick, though. Now, Mark Wahlberg in the 1997 classic Boogie Nights. Well, Jack, I've been thinking a lot about my name lately, and every time I close my eyes, I see these bright, shiny letters, and they just get brighter and brighter until they explode. That's my Mark Wahlberg impression from Boogie Nights. I hope you enjoyed it. All right, the next one comes from Big Daddy Deke, who says, John, what is your funniest high school memory? My mom slept with my friend, and I was the most popular kid in school, so I guess it wasn't all that bad. I bet just like you had 20 dudes every week, and hey, man, can we have a sleepover? What's up? Good story. Something similar to like that happened at my high school with a friend of mine. Anyway, funniest high school memory? Gosh. I remember we were in gym class in the locker room, and one dude pooped in another dude's shoe when he was gone. And then he came back and put that shoe on. And that might be the most disgusting, glorious thing of all time. And I think he got suspended from school. I would definitely say he did. But gosh, it was worth it. I wonder if that ruined his life, because I don't think I've ever heard from that kid again. But I'd much rather be him than the other kid known as Shit Shoe. Okay, let's go to the next one here. Claudia Rogajan says, what are your hopes for Lex Luthor for the movie? I hope they go the animated series route where he wants to be the savior of mankind and is jealous of Superman. Also, him sacrificing himself to defeat Darkseid would be great. A great end to the character. I don't know much about the animated version of Lex Luthor. I really don't. I mean, I know the character. I've seen him in animated movies and stuff, but that one specifically, okay, that works. So he has a character arc is what you're saying. So at some point in the second movie or the third movie, he sacrifices himself to all of humanity he actually redeems himself in a way. That's what you're saying? If that's, I like that. I think that's a really interesting thing to do with Lex Luthor. I'll just put it like this. I'm just so glad that Jesse Eisenberg won't be in this movie putting Jolly Ranchers into old men's mouths, okay? Whoop! I did not know that. Like, no thank you. Please, no thank you. I think Nicholas Hoult as Lex looks cool. I'm hoping, and hopefully at one point we see the giant Lex mech suit. Oh, why haven't we had that yet? So I'm excited for it. I think they're gonna give fans what they want from that. All right. The next one comes from Will H, who says, John, the video you did with Alex Leba and Mega Replay several months back was funny stuff. He's a big fan of yours, as Nick Nolte would say. It's a real nice thing what you did for that boy, Johnny. Well, thank you for that. Yeah, Alex Leba, longtime watcher, viewer, commenter, and he has a YouTube channel as well. And so, yeah, every once in a while, it's nice to go back and dip your toe in the well of youth. And hanging out with Alex instantly made me feel like I was 15 years younger again. So Alex himself is a character. Like, he feels like a live action movie character. He really does. All right. The next one comes from Langdon Lee, who says, John, I will have two equations. Which side superhero are you looking forward to seeing in Superman? Also, do you go to the movie theater by yourself sometimes? Which side superhero am I looking forward to with Superman? Which side of him? I'm just hoping they make him likable and human to where, like, you feel like this. And I think the one picture that James Gunn released of the city being destroyed by a big laser jellyfish in the background, but you see Superman like putting on his boots. That to me was like a dude waking up to go to work who doesn't want to go to work that day, and it's sort of an obligation. And I get that. Going back to earlier what I said about Superman, if I had superpowers, I think at some point saving the day would feel like an obligation. So I like that. I hope that's the aspect they really pick up on. Because, it's like we clearly know he's super, but show us the man. So, all right. And the next part of that question was, no, I typically never go to the movie theater by myself unless I go to like a press screening that my wife can't go to. But we both have the Regal Pass and we go see just about every movie together. It's just like one of the things we do. So like everything I want to see, she wants to see. So it always works out. Social Native says, John, are you watching Squid Games season 2? Oh, I'm savoring the flavor. Yes, I'm absolutely going to watch it. It comes out on Christmas Day, right? Christmas Day. I'm looking forward to that. I really am. I've been waiting years for a Squid Games sequel, so give it to me now. I love that show. I love it. But speaking of Squid Games, on a lesser note, I do have a confession to tell all of you tonight. I did watch the Mr. Beast show, Beast Games, on Amazon Prime. Now, let me explain myself, and I'll just slow down for a minute. It was late. I was bored. I was eating some reheated frozen pizza, and I needed something to watch. And I didn't feel like watching a movie. I wanted mindless entertainment. And I came across Beast Games on Prime. But I gotta say, I kind of enjoy it, but I don't like the bribe aspect of the show. I don't like how you can just, like, 40 people can be kicked off the show because one person took a bribe. I wish there was a little more skill throughout the show to win $5 million. That's my only complaint with it. But other than that, I did somewhat enjoy it. All right, the next one comes from Social Native, who says, John, best Disney movie classic. Probably The Lion King, but one I love, and it's sort of a guilty pleasure, and there's a lot of weird things about the movie. The Sword and the Stone from the, I think it's late 60s, early 70s Disney? Anyway, I like that as well. And the funniest thing about Sword and the Stone, the young Arthur in the movie, the young boy, he's voiced by 3 different actors throughout the movie, and it's clearly obvious. And every time I watched that as a kid, I thought it was utterly insane. I was like, his voice is changing every other sentence. And then come to find out, they actually had 3 different kids do the voice. So, and none of them sound the same. Patrick Book says, "Hey, John, I'm a big fan and have been watching since 2012. Will you please say hi to your mother for me? And, hey, what are you doing over there?" For me, while I rub myself, oh, God, okay, up and down with baby oil. Well, I hope you enjoyed that, man. And, hey, what are you doing over there? That was a special, weird one for you, man. All right. Okay. Well, thank you for that so much. Thank you. Did I mention this is what I do for a living? Social Native says, you on a road trip, name 3 movie characters in your car. Ooh, that's a good one. Let's go with, I don't know. How about Heath Ledger's The Joker? We'll go with Patrick Bateman, Lou Bloom, and let's just throw a 4th one in there. Who can the 4th one be? Let's see. The 4th character in my car is going to be, just to spice it up a little bit, I'm going to go with Gollum. I think that would be really interesting. Could you imagine that guy in your car for 3 hours? Just the wacky shit that would come out of his mouth. Hey, Gollum, tell me a story about Mordor, would you? Could you imagine just listening to that? I think it'd be beautiful. Anyway, let's go to the next one here. Harvey Dent. Speak of the devil. All right. Willie up my bum. Thank you for the statement. Bryce Tiffany says, assessment on snow in Greenville was accurate. Favorite show of all time. Yeah, absolutely, man. If they just feel like it's snow could happen, they shut down the city and everyone buys enough cans of beans for the next 6 months. Favorite show of all time? Of all time, I got to go Game of Thrones. I have to. I think that's the most epic series, the most epic journey I've went on with some very compelling, polarizing characters that made me feel something inside. And you just had like cinematic, awesome season finales at times. Season 8 sucked. I know. I agree. But just like the Tower Fight or the Battle of the Bastards episode alone was like film quality. And I just don't feel like that will ever be duplicated or recaptured the same way again. All right, the next one is going to come from Bryce Tiffany as well. Also, favorite beer. My poison is my Voodoo Ranger. I'm not a big beer guy. I'm really not. Don't get me wrong. I every once in a while, I enjoy one. But for me, they just come across too yeasty and they make me feel bloated and tired. I'm more of like a Jack Daniels Coke Zero type of guy. Or give me a Moscow Mule. Right? Nothing makes me feel more fresh and vibrant and slightly drunk and intoxicated than a Moscow Mule. All right. The next one comes from Nora Sinclair, who says, as an autist, I'm pretty sure Nolan might be one too, as I can relate to a lot of the neatness, obsessive psychology he portrays. Oh, like on the spectrum. Yes. I think a lot of actors and directors and artists definitely are. I mean, I could be on the spectrum to some degree. Who knows? But yeah, I definitely can pick up on that. I mean, Tim Burton definitely on that spectrum as well. And it's just, you can have this hyper focus ability on certain aspects of things. And I think that's what makes certain directors stand out so much and gives them their style, is because like they are just dedicated and hyper focused on that one particular style of filmmaking. And I think that's what makes a good artist. It's like, so to sum it up, I think being on the spectrum makes you a better artist. Is that fair? Because it's not the normal stuff. It's something you couldn't even imagine that someone else does. And I think it's beautiful. So those are my philosophical thoughts on that. So I agree with you. All right. The next one comes from Skylar Wheelock, who says, make rentals $4.99 again. Like, why would anyone pay $20 just to rent a movie? Crazy, we're still doing this almost 5 years post-COVID. Laughing my ass off, or you did the abbreviation there. I'm not an aristocrat. aristocrat. Yeah, the fact that you have to pay $20 for a streaming movie when you could go see it in the theater for $13 or $10 or whatever. But now you want me to pay $20 to rent it a month after the fact when you could go to the video store and you used to be able to rent movies for like $2 at Family Video. Yeah, you're definitely right. It is very bizarre that they're charging $20 for this shit. And I think a lot more people would gravitate towards this method of movie watching, but the studios are just like jacking up the price. So now that one niche of person who wants to watch it, they're overcharging that person when if they did in fact make it $7 to watch it at home, okay, I think the masses would probably go that route and they'd make more money in the long run. But who am I? I don't know. Or you can just illegally find it somewhere on the internet and download it. But I don't support that. Depending on the movie, I might. Skylar Wheelock says, what mysterious thing happened to you that you still can't explain? I've had mysterious phenomenons, you say? Well, throughout my life, I will say this. I have accidentally gotten lucky so many times where it was really a life-changing moment where if one thing would have went different, maybe the course of my life would have went maybe a negative route. And it feels like I get lucky enough every time with life. Just like I don't become super I don't get too lucky, but I get lucky enough just to scrape by, lick my wounds and fight another day. So I guess that might be a supernatural phenomenon. Maybe I have an ancestor up there looking down upon me from the stars who says, you know what, that asshole, he might be an asshole, but I like him because he comes from my loins. So let's move things around on the chessboard just enough to let him squeak by, I don't know. Maybe that's one natural phenomenon. I couldn't tell you. Now watch tomorrow. A plane just crashes into my house and that's it. Okay. The next one comes from, Will H, who says, John, sweet bat beanie. Well, thank you for that. I read it like Adam West does. Robin, we have to go. I still feel Batman 89 is the ultimate singular Batman experience. It's dark and gangster, but campy at the same time, just like the comic book. Elfman's score, the gothic architecture, Keaton stalks his criminals like a horror slasher. Oh, absolutely. It was the perfect tone for what it needed to be in 1989. And you even had Jack Nicholson, glad you're dead, coming in there with Prince music. It was just such a weird take on Batman, and going back to Tim Burton being a little bit kooky, only he could give us something like that. And it's so weird and bizarre. That's why it stands the test of time, and it's still fascinating to watch, right? It wasn't just like a copy and paste of something else. All right, let's go to the next one here. Skylar Wheelock says, is it just me, but Gary Busey looks like Macaulay Culkin had a stroke? If he looks like Macaulay Culkin's crazy uncle, I would go that far. Will G says, who would you cast as Batman in the DCU right now? Dude, I don't know with that. It depends. Do they want an older Batman or a younger Batman? And if it's Batman the Brave and the Bold, you need a slightly older Batman. But I just feel like maybe he's slightly too old at this point. And the actor I'm thinking of is... oh, God, my brain just went blank. Josh Brolin. Okay, there you go. That's when I've been talking too much. At one point, they wanted Ben Affleck or Josh Brolin, I recall, and I just think Josh Brolin looks like an old Bruce Wayne. Now, maybe he's too old, but if you were going for an older Bruce Wayne, that's who I would want. But I would probably pick the dude from, what is the, oh, God... Jack Reacher show, the Jack Reacher show. I forget his name, but he's like 6'2", jacked as shit, looks awesome. I think he'd be a good younger version of Batman, but maybe he's too big. I don't know. So those are a few choices I'd go with. All right, the next one, August Babington says, do you prefer Batman Returns or Gremlins as an Xmas film? I'm definitely more of a Batman Returns dude. Batman in the opening scene just drives through Gotham City. He's running over clowns. He's burning dudes and lighting a toy store on fire. I love it. It's glorious. So I'd go Batman Returns. Jeremy, the Ness rookie, says... Hey John, hope you're well. I picked up Shawshank, Green Mile, Clockwork Orange on 4K as a gift for myself yesterday. Do you have any 4K Blu-rays on your Christmas list this year? Not off the top of my head, man. I think I pretty much have everything I need. I'm sure there's some. Isn't Over the Top coming to 4K at some point? If that's out, maybe that would be a Christmas gift I give myself. But other than that, I can't think of anything I need right now in 4K. The next one comes from, where are we at here? Oh, here we go. Skylar Wheelock says, name a movie that you changed the ending to. Mine is Return of the King. End the movie after the bow. In the movie before the 14 consecutive endings pop up? Probably. Oh God, I'm trying to think of a movie that should have ended sooner than it does. And as soon as I end the live stream, I know I'll have one. I don't know. Off the top of my head, I can't come up with one. But now my question for you guys watching is, name a movie that should have ended before it did. I'm sure you guys will come up with something and light a spark in my dry rotted brain right now. Let me take a drink of this. Okay. Here we go. Okay. Robert Chiachinta. I think I've said your last name wrong every time, but I'm trying. Ever seen the movie Birth, where Nicole Kidman ends up deciding she's going to live with an 8-year-old boy who claims to be her dead husband reincarnated? I have not. It's called Birth? I have never seen that movie. That sounds truly fascinating. I would like to watch that. And is that pre-Nicole Kidman just shoving so much Botox in her face that it looks like she's about to pop? So yeah, that actually sounds like an interesting movie. Yeah, Anora. Anora was a little longer than it should have been. There was no reason to go that long with that movie. I disagree about Forrest Gump. The Batman, I could see where you could condense it a little bit. It definitely feels like they just included every deleted scene that they had. Panic Room is coming to 4K. Okay. So anyway, yeah, Birth. Maybe I'll watch that at some point in my life. It sounds interesting. All right, the next one comes from Social Native, who says, John, you missed my super chats. Social Native, how did I do such a thing? Nope, I answered him, man. I think it just took a longer to get there than you thought it would. So I think I answered him. Unless I missed one, let me know. Skylar Wheelock, you can let me know in the normal chat if you can, or just type the question again in the normal chat, and I'll try to find it. Skylar Wheelock says, people don't say this enough, but you can Saul Goodman your way through most situations in life. Theoretically, the deception and powerful agents to the uninitiated, but we are initiated, aren't we, John? Yes, we are initiated. I didn't see the light until I was a young man. By then it was blinding. Yeah, well, Saul Goodman has a certain personality type, and I like to say I have a little bit of that in me. I like the showmanship, and I think you can always cut corners in life, right? And I have a sense of injustice about me, but at the same time, I hate corporate America. So I do relate to Saul Goodman quite a bit. The next one comes from Big K Movies and Games, who says, feelings on Austin Butler being becoming Patrick Bateman with the casting. I talked about this in the last live show. I do not like it. I'm not a huge fan of Austin Butler. I think he's fine in the right role, but that pretentious, forced method acting thing that he does, and he's talking like Elvis Presley in every interview since he's played the character, and I just think, you pretentious twat. And listen, if you like the guy's an actor, I get it, but he just, for me, does not have the same gravitas that I think someone playing Patrick Bateman should have. And I don't buy him when he's trying to be suave and sophisticated and cold and calculated, but witty and charming with that sociopathic dark humor behind his eyes. I just don't think he has that to give. I really don't. He just doesn't have the right facial expressions for it. Like, I just feel like I can see him acting on the screen, and I don't like it. Those are my thoughts. Okay, let's go to the next one here. James Doshier says, John, I sent you a super chat earlier. James, I read it, right? I read multiple of your questions. But if I didn't, type it in the normal chat right here again. I'm pretty sure I read it, though. Vafa Vibing with Film says, top 3 favorite director. Which director is objectively the best? I'm not going to do like a ranking list, but, I love me some Spielberg. I love Nolan. I love Zemeckis. I love James Cameron. And for the sake of the conversation, I'll end it there. But it really depends on the vibe I'm going for, right? Each one in their own genre did it to perfection, and I think that's what separates each and every single one of them. If I want something big, epic, and like just cinematic in scope, but it feels like a blockbuster that just takes you away from reality, makes you feel like a little kid again, James Cameron has always done that. But if I want something a bit more whimsical, I definitely go to 1980s, 1990s Spielberg. And I think Spielberg probably has the most hits from any director of that lineup. So, it really depends. I couldn't just pick one. I really couldn't. But Zemeckis made Forrest Gump, Castaway, Back to the Future. I mean, talk about 3 amazing movies that I love that resonate with me, but they all come from one guy. So I couldn't just pick one, man. I really couldn't. InHomes25 says, hey, John, Hot Toys should create the Pigeon Lady from Home Alone 2. They do pretty good with realism. Imagine a realistic, foggy, poopy plastered on her mini fuzzy coat. Yeah, if they made that, that'd probably be the worst selling toy of all time. What kid would go into a toy store and say, I want the Pigeon Lady? Oh, disgusting. Social Native says, John, thoughts on Remember the Titans? It's been a while since I've seen it. I liked it. Denzel was great. You had the one kid, what they called him, like Sunshine or something. I remember him when he had like long blonde hair. He kissed some other guy in the locker room, if I remember correctly. I remember liking the movie quite a bit. Claudia Rogajon says, yes, Lex Luthor in the DC animated show sacrifices himself to save Earth from Darkseid. He actually has an arc, and if they could do that in live action, I think it would be great. It would also be cool if they did his cancer storyline that he got from Kryptonite. Ooh, that could go dark. Okay. I think those are both interesting ideas to make him interesting. Like, Lex needs more to his character than just, I'm the bad bald guy. I want to kill Superman. And I like this. Okay, this feels good. That could add some complexities to it. Skylar Wheelock says, have you seen Armor, Stallone's new heist movie? He plays a villainous bank robber. No one is talking about it. I'm curious about it. I think I may have heard of that, but I'm afraid it's going to look like a straight to Amazon Prime movie, and it probably does. But Stallone in a heist movie could be cool. But when it comes to that last Amazon Prime movie with Stallone, where he was like a superhero, but he was retired, which sounds like a cool concept, and you got Stallone, it just felt so, it was like, it just felt like a made for streaming movie. And that was like, I was like, what a waste of a concept. The next one comes from Joey Zez, who says, hi, John, you've seen Lake Mungo, terrifying. I have not seen Lake Mungo. I have not seen it, but I've heard that Shelby Oaks might take inspiration from it, but I should probably watch Lake Mungo. InHomes25 says, in all seriousness, John, you have managed to make Home Alone 2 even more enjoyable than it was. My brother and I laugh every time she's on screen now, knowing how disgust she makes you. So thanks, man, and Merry Christmas, you filthy animal. Well, I'm glad I can bring a little more enjoyment or more disgust to Home Alone 2, because when you look at the Pigeon Lady, if you don't vomit in your own mouth, well, you should, and there's something psychologically wrong with you. How can you look at that and not get disgusted? But I'm glad you enjoy it more, man. Skylar Wheelock says, what's a plot hole from a TV show / sitcom that still keeps you awake at night? I remember on, what was the show? Step by Step from the 90s. And you can watch the intro to that show on YouTube. Type in Step by Step intro. It's all these people on a roller coaster. It makes me happy. Anyway, I remember there was a daughter or a little girl in that show, and she went up the stairs in one episode and she never came back down, or something like that. And also, didn't the same thing happen in the Brady Bunch show? Anyway, that's one that always bothered me when I was a kid. I'm trying to think of another plot hole that's always bothered me. I don't know. Off the top of my head, I can't think of one. But my question to you guys is, name a plot hole in a TV show that just always blew you away. You know, it's not really a plot hole, but I'll tell you this. This is why I've always been picky on TV shows. I remember for years and years, everyone tried to get me to watch the show Lost. They tried so hard. And this is before the final episode aired. And I'm like, listen, I'll watch it when that final episode airs. But I'm going to tell you this right now. You're going to be disappointed. And sure enough, they were. All right. Justice for the Pigeon Lady? No, I hope she's burning in hell. Not the actress, just the character. James Dozier says, my super chat was about me just finished watching Christmas Story. It wasn't really a question. Well, yeah, man, I'm glad you enjoyed Christmas Story. A must watch every year. And long before streaming services came along, kids, we had something called TNT. It was on cable. And on Christmas Day, everyone, including your grandparents, would put TNT on. And they would play the Christmas Story 24 hours a day, and they probably still do it. So during Christmas, you probably accidentally watched a Christmas Story at least 7.5 times, or at least I remember I did. All right, let's go to the next one here. Michael Flores has become a member. Well, thanks, Michael. Yay! Thanks, man. All right, the next one comes from A. Marcellus, who says, I am playing the new Indiana Jones game, and it is amazing. I absolutely love the music. The composer, Gordy Habb, knows how to perfectly emulate John Williams. He even composed a few Star Wars games. Yeah, I've heard the game's kind of cool. I watched some gameplay footage of it. It looks fun. I don't know if the first person POV perspective is what I would want from an Indiana Jones game. And I get their logic for it because they didn't want to make it feel like an Uncharted video game. But at the same time, gee golly gee whiz, isn't that kind of what Indiana Jones is? And I want to see him from a third person perspective. Okay, call me crazy. But no, I've heard it's cool. And one day maybe I'll check it out. I've heard it's definitely less action oriented, which I guess kind of works. Jesus Salcido says, what's your favorite moment from Breaking Bad? Just small moment. Well, I enjoy, one episode I enjoy in Breaking Bad. It's the one episode where their RV breaks down out in the desert when they're cooking meth. And Walter White sort of has to MacGyver things to get the battery jump started. So that's one really underlooked episode in my opinion. But the one I enjoy quite a bit is when Walter White just loses his shit because Skyler, because she's a moron, got rid of all the money because she let Ted have it. The dude she's having an affair with. But that sequence where Walter White is laying under the house, just losing his shit. I love that scene. All right. Next one comes from Joey Zez, who says, do we know why Home Alone 2 and Die Hard 3 are not on physical 4K yet? They're on Disney Plus and 4K and look amazing. Also, Marty's will mess you up. Yeah, I'm still meaning to watch Marty's, man, or Marty's, yes. I remember we've talked about that multiple times, and I do want to watch it. I did look at the trailer, though. It looks pretty fucked up. Home Alone 2. Yeah, if Home Alone 2 came out on 4K, I'd definitely buy it. I have the original Home Alone. Die Hard 3, I don't know if... Actually, Die Hard 3 is one of my favorites. It's a perfect cat and mouse game. Simon didn't say. I definitely enjoy Die Hard 3 more than Die Hard 2 or 4. But and I like when Samuel Jackson teams up with John McClane. It's a good time, man. Yeah, I guess you're right. They are not on 4K. So I would buy those on 4K if they were on 4K. Skylar Wheelock says, what movie is simply too magical to you, no matter how popular or unpopular it may be, other than Over the Top? I'll tell you one movie that's truly magical and mystical, and you should watch it every holiday season. That's a little movie called Hook. You a rude, crude bag of pre-food chew, dude? I love Hook, man. To me, that is my go-to happy place movie. It really is. And that's regarded as one of Spielberg's worst movies, but for me, it's one of his best. The 50% Doctor Who podcast says, Merry Christmas, Johnny Bean Flicker. Well, thank you, and Merry Christmas right back to you. Logan CD says, John, how many times have you rewatched Django Unchained? Gosh, man. I probably have seen that movie maybe 40 times. I would say 40 times. There's been many of times where I put the movie on, like when I'm laying in bed, and maybe I get halfway through it or something. But I've watched that movie I pushed play on that movie at least 40 times. I love it. Now, Eskimo Joe, how you reckon he got that name? I don't know. It was cold one day and his name's Joe. I don't. Social Native says, thoughts on Richie Rich in McDonald's in his house. Oh, dude, back when I was a kid watching Richie Rich, it was like a dream come to fruition on the silver screen. And McDonald's in his house, his bedroom. Oh, he has a roller coaster. Good stuff. Fun story about Richie Rich. My friend Chad had and he was like 12 at the time. He had a girl that he was dating. So he says, who knows? He could have been a liar. But apparently this girl that he was dating that lived in Tennessee was actually the stunt double that they got to ride the roller coaster in that scene where they're at Richie Rich's house going on a roller coaster because the lead actress didn't like roller coasters. According to Chad, that's what he said, but I don't know. The next one comes from Skylar Wheelock, who says, wrestling question here, John. Why are unprotected chair shots to the head, even when gimmick chair shots, so frowned upon, while other unprotected head shots, toolbox guitars, aren't nearly as criticized? Well, the toolbox, I think that's still a little protected with the way they're swinging that thing, man. But back in the 90s, when they were swinging chairs around, they were just handing concussions out like they were nothing. So I think a guitar has a little more pliability to it and cracks under pressure, and it's not made out of steel. So I'd say that's probably why. They just don't need concussions. Social Native says, Collateral and Training Day took place on the same day. I've heard that theory. And I don't hate it. I really don't. I mean, why not, right? Skylar Wheelock says, who's the best movie? Skylar Wheelock says, what's the best movie you've seen that depicts a character's descent into madness? And picking Michael Douglas's from Falling Down. You know, that would have been one of my main picks. I can relate with Michael Douglas in Falling Down more than I like to admit. When he goes to the fast food restaurant in that movie and just loses his shit, I think we can all relate. Yes, maybe for legal purposes, I'll stop right there. But anyway, another one is Taxi Driver. Travis Bickle, I can relate to that character. You could say something like Joker, but really they sort of borrowed from Taxi Driver in all fairness. So those are a few I would like to say. I mean, I think one would be Shining, but for me, I like kind of the descent into madness from a realistic standpoint of one like I could see myself doing. And yeah, Falling Down is a good pick. All right, the next one comes from Skylar Wheelock, who says, maturing is realizing Peter Pan was the real villain the whole time. Hook was just a lost boy who wanted revenge for Peter stealing his life. Ooh, I've heard that theory once or twice, and it's not a bad theory. I like it. But then again, you know, I kind of relate to both characters, and I think that's the point. And with both characters, they're on two different spectrums of something, and you need to find yourself right in the middle. But I still think I have a little Peter Pan syndrome inside of me, and I think maybe we all do. Do you have a little Peter Pan inside of you? Let me know down below. But what I mean by that is you never really want to grow up. Because if you grow up, you become this old crusty pirate like Captain Hook. But I could see that. I get the theory, though. Chad Hagen says, if you worked in the movie industry, what job would you do? I think like a producer of some sort would be a good gig for me. I like to have an input on the overall perspective of what's going on. I think sometimes just getting the tone right is most important. Being able to step back and figure out what people really want to see and what they should do. So like maybe a producer role would be interesting to me. Nora Sinclair says, AI is seen as weak, but for me, it's Spielberg's best. Yeah, Artificial Intelligence with Haley Joel Osment is, I think, an interesting movie. Where at the end of it, you go so futuristic with it, you see like advanced literal AI finding this little clone boy frozen in the water. I think it's an interesting movie. It's definitely originally that was Stanley Kubrick concept that never got made, and that's why Spielberg made it. So I like AI. For me, it takes too much investment to rewatch it. And it's very like dour and sad and depressing at times. And he has this little teddy bear that hangs out with him, the original Ted. I never hated the movie. I just never loved it either. But I like, what's his face? Jude Law playing a robotic male gigolo. Imagine if he was that same character in Skeleton Crew. There you go. Wade's Movie World says, John, what would make a great teacher like second or third grade? My wife is actually a kindergarten teacher, but I think being able to deal with stress and screaming little kids, but I think having a childlike sensibility about you to connect and relate, would be good. I don't know. Or a magic school bus could be better. I don't know. But I can tell you this, from my wife's point of view, patience and due diligence and having to hold your pee all day because you're not allowed to go anywhere because you have to keep an eye on these kids because they're running around with scissors trying to stab each other. Dustin Rich says, you love the Neon Demon. You just haven't watched it yet. Imagine if you never watched It Follows. Embrace the future. Funny story, Dustin. And I'm telling you, once you put it out there in the universe, it exists. Oddly enough, I do remember to watch Neon Demon. I haven't watched it yet, but I have it on my to-do list. And I was just scrolling through my screenshots yesterday, and I screenshotted Neon Demon as a way to remind myself to watch it. So it's on the to-do list, man. Skylar Wheelock says, so is the Grinch his name or his ethnicity or his job? I think maybe it's his mindset, And also it's his name. It's a descriptive verbiage that they give to describe him, correct? Am I not mistaken? But it's all three if you really want it to be. The next one comes from Jordan Kudajar, who says, are you a Fly, Breaking Bad episode defender or hater? You know what? After rewatching Breaking Bad just recently again, the Fly scene really does showcase the anxiety and the insanity that I think we can all feel every once in a while, where you just hyper focus on one minute thing and it drives you insane. So I like the Fly scene, but gosh, it could have been like a condensed 10-minute version of itself, could it not? All right. It's one of those things I think you enjoy more going back and watching the series than you did watching it the first time because you feel like you're kind of cheated out of an episode of Breaking Bad with it. Logan CD says, John, how great is the scene in Hateful Eight when Samuel addresses the old Confederate about his son? What a great string of writing and delivery. Yes. So the scene in Hateful Eight where Major Marcellus, whatever his name is trying to get under the skin of the old Confederate general sitting on the sofa there. You knew my boy? Oh, I knew your boy. And he, where he's talking about leading him through the snow for days on end with nothing, where he's bare ass naked. And then he's like, oh, how do I say this? I can't even say it. But that scene where Samuel L. Jackson just goes, where he's trying. Yeah. So anyway, it's a great sequence of events. Nevertheless, it's hilarious. And by the end of it, and I don't want to spoil it for you, I guess I'll put it like this. I'm sort of glad that it wasn't 100% accurate because it would have made me look at the character of Samuel L. Jackson a little bit weird and different It's like you let him blow you and okay, got it, man. Anyway, great scene, yes. If you don't know what I'm talking about, immediately go watch Hateful Eight. Joe Zez says, Terrifier 2, the best soundtrack, Synthwave Gold. I've watched Terrifier 2 just once, and that was recently after watching Terrifier 3, and I do like that 80s synth score to it. Do I like the movie? Not that much. I don't. But I liked 3 for the one time I watched it, but I would probably never go back and rewatch those movies on an annual basis. Nightmare on Elm Street, give it to me. Bucketeer, thanks for the pictures of my stupid face there. Glorious stuff. Okay, Richie Collinson says, Hi, John. Happy Christmas. Have you seen From, the TV series? It's brilliant, but very underrated and doesn't get the recommendation it deserves. I very much recommend checking it out. I have not seen From, the TV series. I think I've heard of this, though. No, I haven't. I've heard of this. I do want to check it out. I've heard people like it and some people dislike it. But I do want to check it out. So I'll add it to the to-do list. There we go. Okay. The next one comes from Skylar Wheelock, who says, What is the single worst movie you sat through hoping it would get better but didn't? Oh, probably like Matrix 4, Matrix Erections or whatever. I just couldn't believe how bad it kept progressively getting. I was like, they did not want to make this movie. And I think the truth is they didn't want to make it, but they were obligated to do it. So that's one of them from recent memory. But I remember the first time I watched I remember watching Transporter 2 in the movie theater. And when he turns his car upside down and knocks the bomb off the bottom of his car with a little hook on a crane, I thought to myself, like, I like a big dumb action movie, but I can't handle this right now. And I think we left the theater. So those are a few. But you said watched all the way through. I do remember watching Matrix 3 in the theater and falling asleep multiple times. So those are a few. I hope that was a fulfilling answer for you. But there's been so many, man. I mean, there's nothing worse than sitting through a dreadful movie. All right, guys. So I got to get going here. We do have family coming over. We're gonna have a little movie night, a little Christmas movie night, and I can't answer the door looking like this because I look utterly insane. But then again, maybe I should just leave on this get up. But nevertheless, guys, I do want to say thank you for joining me once again. Thank you for the questions. Thank you guys for hanging out. But most importantly, I do want to say this. I hope you guys have a Merry Christmas. If you don't celebrate Christmas, well, nevertheless, go watch Home Alone or something. But just try to avoid the pigeon lady when you're eating or consuming any food. I don't want you to puke all over the Christmas tree. So as always, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for the questions. Thanks for hanging out. And have a Merry Christmas and eat some cookies for me. Take care. Bye-bye.